Prince Charles was heartbroken over the death of his uncle Lord Mountbatten, who he deemed the grandfather I never had, revealing that the foundations of all that he held dear in life had been torn apart. Louis Dickey Mountbatten, Earl Mountbatten of Burma, was killed in August 1979 when his boat was blown up at sea by the Irish Republican Army, IRA, off the west coast of Ireland. A documentary, which will air on Channel 5 on Saturday, delves into the tragic circumstances surrounding his death, including recollections of the attack from royal insiders, local journalists and victims' family members. The murder of Lord Mountbatten, 3 Days That Shook Britain, also honors his legacy, which is often eclipsed by the story behind his death, and commemorates his status as a significant and influential member of the royal family in the 20th century. The bomb, which was planted by Thomas McMahon on the Shadow V boat, was detonated while Mountbatten was on a fishing trip with his family off Mullaghmore, County Sligo. The party of 7 included the former Navy Admiral's grandson Timothy Knatchbull, his daughter Patricia and her husband, Lord John Brabourne, who all somehow survived the blast. Nicholas Knatchbull, Mountbatten's other grandson, and Paul Maxwell, a young crew member from County Fermanagh, were killed. Lord Brabourne's mother Doreen, Dowager Lady Brabourne, died the following day having sustained injuries. Lord Mountbatten, born Prince Louis of Battenberg, had a strong influence over the Windsors. He was the maternal uncle of Prince Philip and a second cousin once removed of Queen Elizabeth II. He was particularly close to the Duke of Edinburgh, who Mountbatten helped raise after the Duke's parents separated and his father moved to Monaco while his mother was admitted into a Swiss sanatorium. Years later, he acted as an honorary grandfather to Prince Charles, his great-nephew. The two shared a special bond and Mountbatten became a close confidant of the young Prince of Wales. In 2015, Charles delivered a moving speech about the tragedy as he visited the seaside village of Mullaghmore. He said, "In August 1979, my much-loved great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, was killed alongside his young grandson and my godson, Nicholas, and his friend, Paul Maxwell, and Nicholas' grandmother, the Dowager Lady Brabourne. At the time I could not imagine how we would come to terms with the anguish of such a deep loss since, for me, Lord Mountbatten represented the grandfather I never had. So, it seemed as if the foundations of all that we held dear in life had been torn apart irreparably. Through this dreadful experience, though, I now understand in a profound way the agonies borne by so many others in these islands, of whatever faith, denomination or political tradition." The Prince of Wales said he first remembered meeting his great-uncle at the age of 5 during a trip to Malta when Mountbatten led the Mediterranean fleet on a showy maneuver past the Queen's royal yacht as she arrived in the country. He was a regular visitor at Mountbatten's Broadlands estate in Hampshire, where the two enjoyed fishing and other outdoor activities before staying up well into the night to discuss history and royal family dynamics. The Earl of Burma was one of the most influential figures in Charles' life. He was the only family member to attend the Prince's 1971 graduation from the Royal Naval College Dartmouth, where he spent 6 weeks learning about leadership, navigation and the ways of the Royal Navy following the suggestion of his great-uncle. According to Penny Junors Charles, when the Queen conferred with advisors to chart the course of her eldest child's education, it was Mountbatten's suggestion that won out, Trinity College like his grandfather, Dartmouth like his father and grandfather, and then to sea in the Royal Navy ending up with a command of his own. And when Charles found himself to be a highly sought-after bachelor, he turned to Mountbatten for advice. His great-uncle famously voiced his views on the matter in a February 1974 letter, which read, "I believe, in a case like yours, the man should sow his wild oats and have as many affairs as he can before settling down, but for a wife he should choose a suitable, attractive and sweet-charactered girl before she met anyone else she might fall for. I think it is disturbing for women to have experiences if they have to remain on a pedestal after marriage. Mountbatten even attempted to pair Charles with his granddaughter, Amanda Natchville, without any success. But the elder royal still held on to hope and tried to arrange a trip to India involving the three of them before fate intervened in the summer of 1979. That August, Lord Mountbatten was killed when his fishing boat was blown to pieces. Charles, who was vacationing in Iceland at the time, was utterly heartbroken by the news. He played a prominent role at Mountbatten's funeral service at Westminster Abbey, reading Psalm 107 to the congregation and a televised audience in more than 20 countries. He later delivered a moving tribute during a memorial service at St. Paul's Cathedral. The prince said, "That quality of real moral courage, of being able to face unpleasant tasks that needed to be done, and yet to be fair and consistent, is a rare quality indeed. But he had it in abundance, and that, I think, is one of the reasons why people would have followed him into hell, if he had explained the point of such an expedition. It is also one of the reasons why I adored him and why so many of us miss him so dreadfully now." Following the tragic incident, the Prince of Wales struggled to make sense of life without his most trusted advisor. He retreated to Balmoral Castle in Scotland for long walks in solitude and repeatedly watched a BBC video obituary of his honorary grandpa, unable to process the cruel swiftness of his departure. The prince was president of the United World Colleges, which Mountbatten passed down to him in 1978, and to honor one of his predecessor's wishes, Charles launched the branch in the US in 1982. And Mountbatten's influence has seemingly passed down through generations. Despite his death being 4 decades ago, Charles' eldest son, Prince William, whose full name is William Arthur Philip Louis Mountbatten Windsor, chose Louis as a middle name for his oldest son, Prince George, and named his youngest Louis, reportedly after his great-great-uncle. The Murder of Lord Mountbatten, 3 Days That Shook Britain airs on Channel 5 at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday.